Whenever you would like.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're ready to call the meeting to order. I was wondering, Desiree, can you take the roll, please?
Yes, and it is 11:32, and Chair Rieger.
Here.
Vice Chair Hayes. Karen Norsworthy.
Here.
Paul Perkins.
Present.
And Pat Redmond.
Here.
Okay, you have quorum. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending. Desiree, I hope you will just correct me if I stray from what we're supposed to be doing here, but typically when we first meet in any year, the purpose of the meeting is to have a discussion about whether we want to take up the salaries for any of the groups that we have responsibility for. And if the determination is yes, we do, then we schedule further hearings and notice them and so on.
Steve, can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
Do you have the agenda in front of you? Because I think we'll need to run through the agenda first.
I did not. I went through my inbox multiple times and never saw an agenda. So.
Let me email it to you one more time. Does anybody else need the agenda sent to them again?
No, I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked my trash and checked my inbox, so I figured we just didn't have one. But yeah, go ahead and if you email to me, I'll just watch for it here and I'll pull it up.
Okay, I just sent it to you, and we're gonna start with item 3, which is the approval of the agenda. So just let us know when you get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do have a question on data. This is Paul Perkins. I actually have been trying to, and I should have just contacted you guys a couple of days ago. I've been trying to research salaries. I don't know the salaries we're referencing and all the specific people we're referencing. I'm a new guy, and it would have been nice. It would have been nice to have that for this discussion. So I felt that this was probably just more of a meet and greet as opposed to we're blessing everybody and pressing on for the year.
Yeah, well, let's bring that up as soon as we get a chance to look at the agenda. I am still waiting for it to pop up on my screen. It hasn't popped up yet.
Do you have a different email address?
It's riesteve@gmail.com.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I got your other emails.
Well, we could just we could just read through it, and then you could hit it.
Yeah,
read it.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So who would like to read it?
Steve, this is Pat, and you can look.
Yes.
The agenda is way down in that email. It's an attachment way down in that email that invited you to the meeting.
Hang on.
Alternatively, if you go to muni.org, I do have a web page set up for the commission, and that might be easier for you to get to.
Yeah, well, let me just see if I can find it this way on what Pat suggested. Okay, so that email was what date was the email invite to the meeting?
May 3rd.
Right, May 3rd.
Now this is so bizarre because it's not there. There's nothing from May 3rd. Oh, here we go.
I just sent it to you, Steve.
Okay. Okay, there it is. Never mind, it came through. And here's the agenda. We'll download it. Okay, I've got it. Okay, so this is a lot better. So let's go on item 3. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
This is Pat, and I move to approve the agenda.
This is Karen. I'll move to approve. Or second. Second, sorry.
Okay, it's moved by Pat and seconded by Karen.
Awesome.
Is there any objection to the approval of the agenda? We'll consider it approved. Paul, if you can just wait one last minute, let's go through approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, and then we'll bring up your request for a general discussion of the, what the people are that this committee addresses.
Of course. Yeah, we can do that in the agenda. No problem.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
This is Pat. I move to approve the minutes of the May 2021 meeting.
And this is Karen, and I will second it.
Okay. Is there any objection or any modifications or to the motion? Hearing none, the minutes of the meeting of May 24th, 2021 are approved. So now we are on new business. Let's see, Desiree, would you mind just walking through the overview of what the groups are that this committee covers?
Of course. So the Salaries and Emoluments Commission is tasked with setting the salaries for the elected officials of the municipality. So we are talking about the mayor, the assembly, and the school board.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nope, that's your group or your
Great.
three.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't for sure, and I couldn't find any documentation on it. So that's my fault.
This is Pat. The best place to look for information on it, as far as the basics, is in the charter itself, because this is designated by the charter specifically.
And Paul, I can send you some additional information on the commission. Pat is definitely correct. It is a charter-based commission. If you look online, you'll find it on Charter Section 5.08. And then if you look in code, there's further detail in 4.10. But I can send you this info.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, sorry, I did some cursory Google searches this last week and didn't come up with much that's current. So I was just trying to make sure I was on the right page. So if you could send me current salaries and stuff or where to reference that, I would be much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Also,
thanks for the overview. Okay.
Okay, can I make, this is Pat. I want to make one more comment for Paul. One of the things that's, when we make a change in salary, it only affects those who are elected at the next election. It doesn't affect anybody who's currently in office.
I see. Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so we are on new business. There's an A and a B. The first item under new business is reorganization of the Salaries and Emoluments Commission, elect chair and vice chair. Anyone have any? Yes, go ahead. Who is that?
Well, this is Karen, and I would like to, nominate or elect Steve to continue to be the chair of the commission.
This is Pat. I'll second that nomination.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Desiree, do we need a roll call on that, or is that sufficient?
We can do unanimous consent if that's easier.
Okay, is there any objection? Then we'll deem that motion as carried. And then there's also nominations for vice chair.
This is Karen. I'd like to nominate Pat to be the vice chair.
I will, actually, I probably shouldn't. I'll second it. Is there any
And I
other
will-
nominations for vice chair? Karen, what were you going to say?
No, it wasn't,
This is-
I wasn't saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I cut you off inadvertently. Okay, hearing no other nominations, is there any objection? And if not, I will deem that Pat is vice chair. Okay, moving forward, we are under review of salaries of mayor, assembly members, and school board. Once again, Desiree, I wonder if you could give us a quick history of when we last took action on each of those groups.
Yes. So for the mayor in 2020, the commission updated the salary for the mayor. So the mayor's currently at 145,392, and that went into effect for the 2021 election. And the next mayoral election is not until 2024. For the assembly, you all acted in 2019. The assembly chair is currently at $67,204, and assembly members are at $60,008. And that is as of the 2020 election for assembly members. And if you'll remember, we had an election just this past April 2022 for 5 of our assembly members, and then next April for the 23 election, we'll have the other half of the assembly up for election. And then for the school board, last action taken was in 2018. The school board president's salary was made $28,932, and members were set at $24,544.
Thank you, Desiree.
Mhm.
So, Paul, for your benefit, my recollection is that when we took action on the assembly, that was a fairly substantial change from what the assembly members were paid before.
Okay.
What we have done on the mayor is we did make at least one substantial adjustment, but by and large, most of our adjustments have been an attempt to more or less track cost of living or inflation.
I see.
And Desiree, again, speak up and correct me if my memory is wrong, but that's from memory. So the assembly and the school board used to be closer. The assembly was paid at a rate higher than the school board, but it was closer than it is now.
I see. So they've separated over time. Is it, again, I'd have to get into the particulars. Obviously, the mayor is a full-time job. Are we considering assembly and board school board members also full-time jobs, or are we considering them more of a part-time augmentation job?
They are not.
The assembly is full-time.
Okay, so we're assuming the assembly people are full-time, and then we're assuming that the board members for the school, maybe not the president, but at least the board members for the school predominantly are part-time workers.
Desiree, can I ask a question?
Thanks.
This is Karen. So
Go ahead.
after we made that substantial increase to the assembly's compensation, I've watched some of the assembly meetings here and there, and some of the reasons why they, were wanting is because they were spending so much time and all of this. And so I think we kind of recognize that. But from what I've been seeing in the assembly meeting is now the assembly has been adding additional staff. And if you could let me know if I'm accurate on that, and if so, since we've increased their salaries, how many additional staff members have they added?
So the assembly has added, I believe, 2 additional staff to the legislative branch. And so they have 2 positions working directly under them, not including the clerk's office, because we serve the whole municipality, and not including assembly council.
Right. Now, they're making money through this municipality, not through our selection of what they make. Is that correct?
Correct. They are full-time
Yes.
employees.
Yes,
Okay.
these actual employees, yes.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. That was Paul. Sorry about that. Yep.
So it's just it's clear that I understand what was just said. So the 2 staff people Desiree just referred to are staff people dedicated to assembly work, whereas for Desiree's position or the municipal clerk are spread, and they are staff to us, but also to elsewhere. Is that a fair summary of what you said, Desiree?
Yes, so the 2 new staff members for the assembly, who work directly for the assembly, and in our office, we deem them legislative staff, just to make some separations. They are dedicated to the assembly members. They do research and drafting and communications and all of those things that the members are interested in. So separate.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And Desiree, this is Karen, when's the election for the additional assembly member for downtown? Is that upcoming?
It is upcoming. The 12th member election is in June.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that raises a question to me. So if we, hypothetically, would take action with respect to assembly compensation, the current incumbents would be unaffected, but the 12th member would be affected.
Correct.
Is that okay?
If you decided before and you wrote your resolution as such, yes.
Right. But we'd have to all have it done prior to June?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a silly question. This is Paul Perkins. Are we meeting because we're scared of COVID on video, or are we just meeting? Is this the way you guys always do business?
We started doing it during the pandemic, and I think as Ray said earlier, we certainly can go back to meeting in person, which is something I generally am more comfortable with.
Absolutely.
Me too.
I think we need to move beyond this and show some leadership.
Yeah. Well, the other is that it's a lot of times, even when we're meeting, we often have people who cannot be at the meeting, and so they're on audio.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. But as a group, I think for us to interface and really be able to sort things out quicker or more directly, obviously face-to-face still works better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was Paul. This is Karen.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, that was Paul.
I guess the last, well, I know we're kind of bouncing around, but we haven't spoken about the school board yet. But there's 2 questions in my mind. One, at times in the past, when we have set the salaries, we've set a current salary and then a subsequent salary for a future date for people who took office in between, so that we well, actually it's just for a subsequent date. so that we tried to anticipate cost of living or inflation increases prospectively. But I'm trying to refresh my memory on the school board. The two numbers that you mentioned, the 28,932 and the 24,544, were those set in 2018 for the year 2018, and they haven't changed since then, or is this what the current is based on what the action we took back in 2018 that was different from what it was, for example, say in 2019?
So for resolution 2018-2 for the school board, you all started with increases in 2019, 2020, and then 2021. So you staggered the increases.
Got it. Okay.
So they have had increases since 2018.
Yes.
For
Okay.
those people who
Yes.
really elected
Okay.
people. Okay.
So what are they at now?
So the current number that I read to you guys, the 28,000 and the 24,000 are where the school board members are at currently. In 2019, it was about 23,000, and 2020 it went to 24,000. So 2019 was 23,800, 2020 was 24,100, and then 2021 was 24,500 for members. So you had small increases over the years.
Right, and that took place into. Okay, go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just going to ask, when we set those salaries, does that include the medical for all of them? Or no, they had the option. How was that? Because I know we had a discussion about medical insurance for the different levels.
So for the school board, there is a medical allowance. And the amount of the medical allowance is $6,500 over the 12-month period of a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a medical also for the mayor or the assembly?
Yes.
Okay. And those are?
Give me one moment.
Good question.
The medical allowance for the assembly is the same. It's $6,500, and for the mayor, the mayor is different because he is a full-time employee, and so he has the option of joining the medical plans that employees have.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. That's Paul. Cool.
And then on the mayor's, I guess since I asked the question about the school board, on the mayor, again, the question in my mind is, what was the date that we set the current salary at, and was that also staggered with any step increases, or was it unchanged from the year in which we last took action on the mayor's salary?
So the mayor's salary was not staggered. It was set at the 145,000, and that was effective after the April 21 election.
Okay.
And prior to that, the mayor's salary was $132,960 following the 2015 election.
Okay, got it. So, if there's other, let's flesh out all the questions people have. But I want to remind us also that the threshold question for us today is: do we want to take any of these up? And if we do, then we have to schedule a subsequent meeting to actually propose any changes.
Well, this is Karen. I'll just jump in. Since the mayor's salary, the mayor's just come on board. He's coming up to just 1 year. So he has we have several years yet before he turns, so it seems premature for us to look at that salary. And then the assembly members, we just did what I would consider a gigantic increase for them. And then we have the school board, and if I heard correctly, we just made the adjustment to them for last year. So for me, I think that we're probably fine for this year. I think we could take a look at them next year.
This is Pat, and I agree. I've been thinking about this for the last, since we scheduled the meeting, and it seems to me like there's a couple of things I feel like we don't always have to keep increasing salaries. I mean, if you're in private industry, you reach a point where your salary does not automatically increase. You're there. You've hit it, and this is taxpayer. And these people are semi-volunteers for these positions, and so I think we're okay where we're at right now, and we will be for a while.
Yeah, this is Paul Perkins. I agree with you, Pat. It's kind of an interesting predicament. Obviously inflation's kicking in big time on everybody right now, but they've all kind of been divvied out for this year already for monies. And I do agree with you. It's more of a, this is a citizen, I don't know what you'd call it, like almost like a citizen volunteer that you're doing in terms of the positions. You're definitely not going to make money as an assembly person or as a school board member. So I think right now, I think the prices seem reasonable. I am curious about workload and really how much time an assembly person puts into a job, as well as really what the school board members do. Are they just meeting, once a month, or how much are they really meeting for bang for buck? I do appreciate their work. It's just, again, I don't know, if you were to look at their dollar cost averaging, how much money they're making on an hourly basis, if you were just to kind of throw out what they do for us. I don't know if you guys have analyzed that or not.
They don't make enough for their hours they put in. It depends on the individual.
Ma'am, Pat, that's a matter of interpretation until I have some data. I do appreciate the point of view, though.
Yeah,
and I think we.
Go ahead.
This is Karen. We did look at, because I think Desiree, you and or Barbara pulled information at one time. We were looking at the assembly, just to kind of, could we look at the volume of, let's say, the emails that they get, and so we looked at that. So you had, at the time, I think the chair, obviously got, tremendous amount compared to then there was an assembly member that did, very, very little. And then also looking at the time that they spent in meetings and all of the workshops and all of that.
Yes.
Compared to when we looked at the school district, the time their meetings went and, how many different meetings they attended and that, it was significantly less than the assembly.
Okay. Yeah. And I fully expected that. Like I said, I'm very data oriented. I did 20 years in the Air Force looking at data. So,
and we've
go ahead, Pat.
We've also compared these with other cities around the country with similar populations and activities.
Okay.
So we have an idea of where we're at. Just sort of like, and we're kind of in the middle, or maybe even we're kind of in the middle of where we need to be. And I think we're in a good spot. I know I don't do community work for money. If I'd be a multi-millionaire if I did it for money.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Pat, I totally agree. This is Paul Perkins again. For me, it's I do believe it's a citizen politician job, not a going to make money job like we just discussed. And I am all about giving somebody some compensation for a lot of work they put in, reasonably speaking. And I think it looks like you guys are doing that. We probably need to pull data again at some point just to reevaluate, maybe at the next meeting, whenever we decide to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The only thing that this is Steve, the only thing I would add is that, and I'm not uncomfortable with what I'm hearing is the consensus to let this year go. But what we have experienced in the past is that we suddenly find ourselves with a longer period of time in which the salaries haven't been adjusted, and then when we calculate the equivalent inflation adjusted equivalent in today's dollars as to what it was when the salary was set, it's a more substantial difference than we may have anticipated. So
Right.
I'd say that probably if we take this up next year, I would be more inclined to push a little harder for us to actually take a look at any unadjusted salaries before it really, just by the effects of inflation, becomes
Yes.
a really different level of compensation than what we arrived at when we last really took a hard look at it and decided what was the correct compensation.
Yeah, this is Paul.
See, this
I totally agree. Sorry.
Taking adjustment to the assembly because it hadn't been done for quite a while, and that what made it overly shocking too.
Oh, in the past, you mean? Is this Paul?
Yeah, well, I think we had waited so long to make an adjustment to the assembly salary. So when we did a substantial increase, it was really hard, I think, for everybody because it was so much. So
Right.
I don't think I would see that we can't let it go too far in the future. I do think that this year is a little too soon to look at it, and but I do think next year we do need to take a hard look so we don't get behind again.
Right.
Yeah, and Steve, this is Paul Perkins. I would
Yeah.
say, I mean, I did 20 years in the Air Force, and we had a kind of like a, obviously Congress would give us a 3% raise or whatever it is, but that would be another way that we could not fall well behind the power curve is if we just set in the future, if we reevaluated, maybe set a percentage increase on an annual basis that's low, but something that makes it so we don't fall grossly behind. It could be a 2%. And that way, at least you're not going to go, 10% the next year because you missed so much.
I think that's the general idea that we tried to do in setting the school board salaries in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Okay, so am I correct in feeling that the sentiment of the committee generally is to not take action on any of these three groups or any of these three areas that we are charged with this year, and to take it up again, or at least revisit it next year?
Yes, it's Karen. Yeah.
And no one has an alternative view. I will take that as the consensus.
Yeah, Steve, just let me throw this out just in discussion. Today, this is a crazy inflationary time right now. I don't want to have us do like an emergency one in November or something when we look at inflation. It's just something to keep in mind. You could have a placeholder, and then we could all decide later if we want to readdress it based on inflation. I don't know, just something to think about. Anybody have any opinion on that?
I do want to say that November, sorry, this is Desiree, November's a little bit too late. The Salaries and Emoluments Commission has to have their resolutions figured out and approved before really the budget cycle. So maybe if you're being nice, September's the absolute latest.
Okay, I get it now. Yeah, so yeah, then I agree with you guys. I think we defer till next year for reevaluation. This is Paul.
Right, and just to make sure that we're all clear, what we're deferring to next year is the option of taking it up. We aren't deciding now specifically to take anything up next year, but just, or do I read that wrong?
No, I think you are correct, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Desiree, does that satisfy what's required under the action that we take, or do we need to make any kind of motion?
No, there's no motion for this. There's no action. You discussed. You're done.
Okay. Okay, is there any other new business? Okay, how about, is there any old business? Member comments?
This is Paul. It's very nice meeting all of you. I hope to see you guys next year, face to face.
Yeah,
Well,
and I'll
we hope so.
I'll make a comment.
Could we maybe have the meeting earlier, like maybe in March or April, potentially, a little bit earlier in the year?
I agree. I think it should be a little earlier.
Does that present any problem, Desiree?
No, not at all.
Okay. Why don't we then maybe Desiree, why don't you sketch on the calendar maybe circulating or a questionnaire about available times in circulating the questionnaire about when we all could meet in March, and then we'll see what people's calendars are and try to schedule a time that works.
Because just saying for myself, I book out my travel quite a bit, and it's nice when I can, if I have something on my calendar, then I can work around it.
Sure.
And I have another question. While she's thinking about the possible earlier times to meet, what terms on this commission are coming up for renewal or new appointments in this cycle, which would be before October?
Give me 1 second. I was just looking at that. So I have one individual whose term ends this year, and that is Karen. And so, Karen, we can resubmit the appointment document, but it'll be closer to October. It'll probably be in September.
That's fine.
Okay.
So, okay, that
okay, and I I just don't know if we can actually set too tight of a window right now, but I'll just speak for myself that that April is generally a pretty good month for me. It's and actually even late March, but once again, I'd probably need some lead time. So.
Yeah, I like it. Steve, I'm with you. April is a really good month, very end of March, but yeah.
Yeah, this is Paul. Just personally, as long as I can get about a month notification, I can change my schedule to meet with you guys. So other than that, I'm very flexible.
Yeah, and Paul, and generally what we've done is we've circulated a range of dates and had people let us know which ones. It's like a doodle poll, and then which ones would work, and then we find one where everybody says yes, that time would work.
Great, and I think Desiree took good care of me because I was totally lost. I was junk mailed on all your prior communications. So I'm glad I'm here.
Okay, and the only other comment I would add is that I do feel that meeting in person works better. It's probably just a little bit less convenient in one sense because we all have to drive in, but I'd probably, I'm sensing that people would prefer to meet in person, and I'll echo that. I think meetings work better when we're meeting in person.
Yeah.
Does that mean we need a motion to adjourn?
I think first, there's an item on the agenda, audience participation, and I'll say, is there any? I don't know if there are any people from the public who want to say anything, but I'll give at least that chance before we adjourn. And hearing none, yes, we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn. This is Pat.
And this is Karen.
Okay, hearing no objection, we're adjourned.
Thank you, and have a good summer.
You too, everybody.
It's
Have a
nice
blessed
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, okay, bye.